Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 073 of the WA Running Podcast as we record on Monday the 7th of April 2025. This week we cover results from the State Footpath Championships, aka the Bridges Fun Run, and our much anticipated Bix 4 Scoots bet, the Runningworks Three Valleys Ultra and the Soul Runners Swan River Half. We preview the upcoming Bunbury Three Waters Running Festival with a potential bet in the works with our podcast pals, the Easy Double podcast. And finally, we get to sit down with Jack Sirett, part-time musician, part-time runner, and part-time chef of the Let's Cook running team to talk all things music, running, and his upcoming show this coming weekend. As always, across my screen is someone who survived the Dad's camp out on Friday night, Chris the Metronome Shaw. How are you, mate?
I'm pretty tired, I'm going to be honest. Did not have the best sleep on Friday night, and Saturday night was not much better. So after somewhat of a restorative sleep last night, I'm hoping tonight is we're back on trend.
Sounds good. I mean, it was windy Friday night, so the question was the lack of sleep due to the wind or due to your kids?
No, the kids were pretty good, actually. They kind of got themselves ready for bed at around 8:15, 8:30, which, is earlier than past years we've done camp out. And so I can't blame them. It was purely on those 85-kilometre-hour gusts that we got every kind of 20 to 30 minutes, which made me feel like I was going to be crushed by a giant tree branch. But glad to be here and, able to speak properly after a couple of days of not being able to do so.
Sounds good. And so how's your week been?
It was good. Bit of a taper week this week. Still a bit of a funny week. I did feel strange. I mean, it could be something to do with doing a big week the week before, but I actually missed my run Monday, and then every day following that, I just felt a little off or a little tired, more tired than I had been in weeks prior when I had been training hard. So, but still got everything done. So it did a 2x4K at half marathon pace, kind of like a practice session on Tuesday. Did that around my local, and it was good. I think that, and it could be the fact that I'm tired, but that 3:48 is feeling, possibly tough. So I'm not feeling super confident about this weekend, but I'm hoping with a little more rest and hopefully some more sleep than I've had the last few nights, that will feel good.
So what's the plan for this week? So who would have thought that we'd be speaking on 7th of April and saying that our 110K week is a taper week or a deload type week? So what's the mileage plan for this week leading into Sunday's Bunbury Running Festival?
I think that somewhere between 60 and 70 Ks before the race, I would expect. So, still running 5 days. So I won't run Saturday. I typically don't run the day before a goal race. And Friday will probably be on the lighter side too. There'll be one session tomorrow morning, and then which is going to be a kind of 4x5 minute. And then it'll just be kind of jogging for the rest of the week with a few strides maybe on the Friday.
Yep.
But I think that's kind of standard. I mean, usually in a marathon build, I think I max it, like the taper is 3 weeks, but given the distance is shorter, I've kind of brought it down. And look, typically I wouldn't do 140 Ks leading into a half marathon, let's be honest, but it's all about experimentation at this point.
Yeah. You're nervous about running 3:48s for 21 Ks. So I know we've just released the Bunbury training series where we talk to the athletes around their A, B and C goals. What's your A, B and C goals for the half marathon this Sunday?
The A goal will be under 80 minutes, so 119 something. And then B goal will be, I guess, I'd hate to say under 82 because I feel like I'm in better shape than 82 at the moment. But so a B goal would be to PB, I guess, and then which is under 123.41, I think is my PB at the moment. So that'll be B goal, and C goal, I guess, is just to enjoy myself and have a good time because, we've been talking about this race for months now, and it's finally here. And it seems like there's a bit of energy about it. There's you and I obviously doing it again for the third time straight, and but also a bunch of our friends are coming along, And obviously we've got the Lighthouse athletes, and then we've somehow convinced members of Front Runner to come down and do it too. So yeah, it's interesting.
I know we've become influencers, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. And we're somehow sponsoring a regional marathon. So it's all happening, Simon.
It's all coming together. No, it's very exciting. So look, my week is 102 Ks. So another 100K week. So I think that's 600K weeks in the last 7 weeks.
Nice. Yep.
Which is, good foundation heading into the start of the marathon block after this weekend. Key sessions for me this week had been the strength intervals on the Thursday. So that is what we usually do around Gallop is warm up of the lap. And then the session itself was 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, getting progressively quicker with a 2-minute jog in between. So Tina had set this workout to start at half marathon effort and then working your way down to a 3K effort by the 2-minute rep at the end there. So I'm pretty happy with it. So I think you did a lap of Gallop and Herdies, I think, that morning. So didn't see you too much other than the warm up and cool down. But our reps with Smirelli and Uncle Alderman joined the party. So we started at 352s, which I don't know if that is my half marathon effort. And I don't know what that equates to, but 352s. Don't know.
It'll be 123. Nah, it'll be lower. Yeah, it'll be 121, 122. Yeah.
Yep. So that was first rep, 347, the second rep, 342s, third rep, 341s. I've got in brackets there, poor mindset. So I think, that was a tough rep for me. So that was the 4-minute rep. And then the last rep, 2 minutes, squeezed out 327 pace. Was pretty happy with that. Meanwhile, I think Smirelli did a 320 pace rep in the last 2 minutes. Yep. And, as usual, wasn't breathing. It's all good. Nice and crazy for him. Pretty happy with that. That was Thursday. And then Saturday was the, monthly time trial. So Saturday's conditions was pretty gusty down at the coast. And with everyone, doing a shakeout run basically for Bridges. It was really just Shaf and I doing the time trial. I think Ashley was doing her last marathon sesh before Boston. So she was doing I think 3x5K at a progressive effort. Mm-hmm. So it was, just Shaf and I, and managed to squeeze in a 17:57 5K, which I'm pretty happy about. So finally, yeah. Pretty happy with that. Classic Shaf runs a first K in 3:25, despite specifically saying that we will go out even pace, but thankfully that banked enough time for me to squeeze under 18 minutes. So not official. I guess I'll have to wait for a 5K race sometime, but I think I've got that monkey off my back and I'm in no rush to really race it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously your fitness is moving and your mental capacity to push yourself through that barrier of that 4th or 5th K has gone in the right direction. But Ryan Greenwood was very quick to tell me that it wasn't a real race. So and he acknowledged that you had acknowledged that too. So no, that's awesome, mate. I'm glad you finally got there, and I'm sure the listeners have been sitting on the edge of their seats for the past 4 months waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm contemplating doing Harbour. Was it the Freyports Harbour Classic? Potentially, I think that's in a month's time, but I don't know.
It's not the fastest course because it's so many laps, right? A few turns
here and there. But in saying that, I kind of don't really care about pushing a 5K official PB. Yeah. Now I just know I can do a sub 18. I think the biggest focus is still Joondalup Half, which is a month and a bit.
Yep.
Hopefully I can push for a PB there, and then gearing up to Gold Coast Marathon. That's the aim.
All the ducks are lining up, mate.
Yeah, no, I am happy sitting in this 100K mileage kind of week. I'm not too tired, and I'm hitting the paces during the workout. So Tina will give me the marathon block after this weekend, so I'll find out what the specifics are, and I think I'll sit down with her to chat through the block and what that looks like. I think I said last week that we'd be aiming for 4 weeks at 130 Ks, thereabouts. Don't know if I'll push beyond that. I think I'll just be too cooked trying to squeeze in 3 workouts a week with that amount of mileage. So I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was talking to Will about this a couple of weeks ago, and like just about changing small things between marathon builds or between builds for races. And like, I think for you, this change of stimulus, this build or this kind of training period has been 3 workouts, whereas in past you might have gone more mileage and still done 2 workouts or maybe 5 workouts a fortnight if you're doing a marathon specific one every 2 weeks. But yeah, so I guess my approach has been still the 5 workouts, but to take it, the change of stimulus is the additional mileage. So it's interesting to see how the different methods work. And I think there's valid arguments for both, for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's get straight into results. So we had the Parent Institute Bridges Fun Run on Sunday morning there, the State 10K Road Championships. We'll start with the 5K. So in the men's, so I guess in our preview, we thought Tom Tej was going to easily take out the win. But then soon after the episode was released, we found out that Smithy and Josh Nearvort had signed up for the 5K and the 10Ks. So what we found out then yesterday morning was that Josh Nearvort took out the 5K win in a very speedy 15 minutes and 29 seconds, taking out the win, and Tom Tej coming second in 16:24 and Liam Duffy coming third in 17:15. In the women's, we had Emma Muehlman taking out the win in 19:12. Courtney Rosato coming second in 19:57, and Naomi Muehlman coming third in 21:17. Now, I hear that we also got a PB, the Shaw family in the 5K, isn't that right?
We did. Henry, my boy, ran a 28:44 for the 5K, which I think beats his previous best at the Peninsula Run, which was 31:01 or something around there. So a solid 2-minute plus PB, and like an effort that exceeded both of our expectations, I think. He was aiming for roughly 30 minutes, and then the first K being a 5:46. I was like, Henry, this is not 30-minute pace. He was quick to tell me that too. He looked down at his watch and said, Daddy, we're running too fast. And I said, yeah, we are running too fast, but just don't worry about your watch. Just keep running. And so he just kept running, and I was so proud of him. His breathing, he was like, I guess, held everything together. I think kids often get overwhelmed by that sensation of feeling short of breath or the lactic building. So I think he managed to hold it all in. And when we got to the finish line, he didn't. Like last time he cried, and in other runs where he's done workouts, he's cried, which makes me sound like an awful father. But but I think this time he got to the finish line and just had, he was exhausted, but he had, in a sense, an incredible sense of achievement.
Beautiful.
So it was awesome to see. I can't wait to see what he gets up to for the next 12 months. Because Kat Watt was quick to point out to me that
start of the end.
This is the start of the end for me, and then David Perich is saying that Henry's going to be running sub 20 by the end of the year, which is a pretty scary thought if that is the case. But he'll certainly be under 25 minutes by the end of the year, I would expect.
So he's got his breathing down pat. So he doesn't breathe like me when I'm doing the workouts on a Thursday.
Doesn't quite sound like you, no.
No, at all. All right, so what's next for him? So is he keen to get back out there for a marathon club event or potentially a HBF in a month's time? Like what's the plan at the moment?
I think HBF will be too overwhelming for him because I think he suffers from a little bit of. He gets a little bit anxious in crowds, so
sure.
I think there'll be probably too many people. But I think something like the Harbour Master Classic would be good because it's close to home, pretty low key. And it's nice and open. So, I think maybe he also chases the medals too. I think he only wants to do it if he's getting a medal. So when he got a medal on the weekend, he was extremely
pretty
excited.
chuffed about that.
Yeah, he took it to school today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm trying to think, was there a medal at Harbour Classic? Yeah, there must have been.
I think that maybe is for the 10. I'm not 100% sure if there is for the 5, so I'd have to look into that for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what the rule is on parents supervising their children on
Mm.
races. But it would be really interesting to see what he could do if he were to run by himself and
Sure.
just, you know, as scary as that would be for him. It's kind of an experiment that I'd love to see unfold, but obviously not going to push him to do that at any point.
Yeah. Maybe a track race or something.
Yeah, so that he's ran in one spot and he's my view the whole time. But.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get straight into the 10Ks. So the men's, a bit of a tussle there with Smithy joining the party there. So Dean Menzies taking out the win in 30 minutes and 3 seconds. Very good there by Dean.
In a PB, right?
PB, I think so. Yeah,
I believe
PB.
it was, yeah.
Yeah. So well done there, Dean. Smithy coming second in 30 minutes and 32 seconds. And I think you called it. Carlos running a sub 32 in 31:47. So look, I haven't spoken to Carlos properly since, but I wonder how much bicarb he was taking under pressure for this race. Very impressive there. So I think, one of our mates, was it Will, that was one of the marshals out there on the course, said that Smithy was leading the pack for a bit and Dean was sitting right behind, but then Dean must have made a move and kind of took the lead and stayed in the lead for the rest of the race. So that was awesome to see. In the women's race, we had Loz French taking out the win in 36 minutes and 20 seconds. So I think that is a PB for Loz there. So congrats, Loz. Rebecca Bolster, I think you called this, coming second in 37:37. And Lisa Tyre rounding out the podium in 38 minutes and 13 seconds. Not bad from Lisa because she's in the middle of a marathon block training for Adelaide Marathon, which can't remember if it's before HBF or after, but sometime in May there. So proving that she can still run a fast 10K there. So congrats to Lisa. And I guess the anticipated 4 scoops bet, you take out the win. So you called Dean, you called Carlos coming third, and you called Rebecca Bolster coming second. So congrats, mate.
Thanks very much. I'll take that white powder in a Glad bag, please. And
very good. All right. So some special shout outs. I think you've got a couple here. Oh, you've got one here in special shout out.
Yeah, I do. There was actually the Muleman sisters you mentioned in the 5K are friends, my friend Braden, it's his 2 younger sisters. And I was talking to him before the race and he said, look, his sisters were going to do pretty well, but I don't think quite, they were both expecting podiums. So congratulations to Emma and Naomi. But my high school buddy, Michelle Pataniti, she ran a sub 50 for the first time post kids. So
nice.
Very impressive from Michelle. She ran Perth Running Festival last October. So she's a pretty keen runner. But as I said, coming back from, I think, baby number 2. So Michelle is a listener as well of the show.
Oh, very good.
Hello, Michelle.
Congrats, Michelle, there. How's conditions on the day? Because you were there for the 5K and that started, 8:35 or thereabouts. So how were the conditions? Because it had been windy sort of in the lead up to Sunday.
Yeah, I think wind-wise, it was pretty good. There was I went for a run with Ordwin in the morning before the race and, it was pretty deadpan, glassy water. It did pick up a little bit as the morning progressed, but I think conditions were, as far as a 5K was concerned, pretty ideal. I don't think there was any. I didn't see anyone really struggling. But I think there were a few people in the 10K that potentially did, just because of the time. You are so exposed on that South Perth side, and I think maybe that was troublesome for a few people, and it seemed like a lot of people there were a lot of people I spoke to that kind of suffered from the 6 or from the 8K mark. So
sure.
And the heat seemed to be the thing that was being complained about. So look, it wasn't a hot day by any means, but it's Perth and it's 8:20 in the morning, and I find that park runs in Perth at 8 o'clock are too late. So 8:20 is definitely too late. Even if it is April,
I mean, in saying that, I can't remember. There seemed to be 100 people that were able to run under 40 minutes. So still a pretty stacked and quick runs from people. So, still good results all around.
I don't know. I didn't speak to anyone about the new bridge and how that impacted the race for them. I know, the causeway is maybe a touch flatter. What was strange was actually there was another bike event on the same day. It was the MS bike ride, and there was, I don't know, hundreds of cyclists smashing around the river all morning from God knows 5 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock. So that maybe caused a little bit of congestion through some parts of that run. But yeah, I think for the most part, pretty good. But yeah, I just wonder if the new bridge is better. I'd love to hear from people as to whether or not they thought it was. For sure.
Yeah, this is touted as the 10K State Road Championships. I do wonder if WA ever gets a proper 10K road race. I feel like Freo is probably the closest you get to a road race for the most part. But I mean, for Dean to be able to run that quick on footpath, navigating through cyclists and South Perth people walking on the footpaths is pretty incredible. So I feel like we're just missing a potential 10K road race to get some quick times on board.
Definitely. I mean, you think that there's other races over the eastern states that are a lot quicker than what we have here at the moment. And that time that Dean ran must be worth 10 or 20 seconds quicker than that if he were running in an open road environment
definitely.
with a field that was bigger than just he and Smithy basically at the front.
Yeah, definitely. We shall see. There may be a future race in store in the next couple of years for that. All right, let's move into the next event we had over the weekend, which was the Runningworks Three Valleys Ultra. Take it away.
Yeah, a beautiful part of the bush out there. I've run that around Victoria Dam a few times. So it's up near Lesmurdy between Lions Lookout and Victoria Dam. It's like a 25k loop course with 750 metres of elevation, so quite up and down. Curtis, the race director we spoke to a few weeks ago, absolutely frothing over this event, as touting it as maybe some of the best trails in Perth. And from the trails I've run, I've certainly enjoyed it, so I wouldn't disagree. Now, there was a 10K, which obviously an abridged version. Then there was a 25K single loop, and then a 50K. So in the men's, in the 10K, we had Ronan Phillips-Johns taking out the race in 46 minutes 41 seconds, followed by Levi Quinton and Florian Dupland. In the women's, we had Ebony Regan finishing in 1 hour 17 seconds, followed by Georgie Smith and Chantel Drury. The men's 25k race was taken out by Carl Harrison in a time of 2 hours 5 minutes and 33 seconds, followed by 007 Pierce Bresman and one of Rochelle Damassi's athletes, Christian Stone, coming in third there with a course PR. So congratulations, Christian. The women's race was taken out by Kelly Guest in 3 hours 11 seconds, followed by Molly Ball and Joe Scott. And then in the men's 50k, we had Luke Hutchison coming in first at 4 hours 57 minutes 34 seconds, followed by Brian Madigan and Dominic Matz coming in third. The women's 50k was taken out by Beth Jones in 6 hours 25 flat, followed by Lauren Boltitude Paul and then Danielle Halliday coming in third. So, good spread of times there. I think with the 50k having 1,500 meters of elevation, I imagine that's a pretty tough Sunday for many people. But yeah, certainly very good. So I think I've mentioned to Chris and Curtis that I would like to go out there and do that one day with them. So look forward to maybe doing that over the winter, potentially going out there and have a group run. And then we also had the Swan River Half on Saturday. So it was it was River Loop weekend, basically. We had the Swan River Half on the Saturday and the Bridges on the Sunday. That's organised by Soul Runners, who in this occasion were raising money for Pregnancy Pathways. Now, Pregnancy Pathways is a not-for-profit organisation with the goal of providing compassionate care and practical support for women experiencing unplanned pregnancy. Now, this is organised by an avid listener of the show, Charles Bosveld. So Charles frequents our emails and certainly gives us the update on a lot of things going on in Perth, and we appreciate his input always. Now, there was a 5K, a 10K and a half marathon on Saturday. So we had the men's race in the 5K taken out by Nick Rogers in a time of 19:26, followed by Nick Moore and then Heinrich de Vries coming in third. The women's race was taken out by Greta de Vries in 24:06, followed by Nora Schoof, and then we had Lena Grunewald in time of 25:05 coming in third. The men's 10K was taken out by a name we say frequently on this podcast, Radek Zitskarski, in 38 minutes 15 seconds, followed by Rory Bosveld, and coming in third was Ryan Govier. The women's 10K was taken out by Sarah Bosfeld in 46:36, followed by Demetra Massoris in a time of 48 minutes 30 seconds, and then we had Elaine Conkling coming in third. The half marathon was taken out by in the men's was taken out by Alan Stabler in 1 hour 22 minutes 33 seconds, followed by Ian Newell and Ben Fell. And then the women's half marathon was won by Anna Watts in 1 hour 32 minutes 49 seconds. Coming in second was Claudia Seke, and third was Rachel Buchan. So good spread again, some quick times. Maybe not as quick as the ones on the Sunday, but certainly some good times from the men and the women there in the half marathon for sure.
Yeah, you're getting good at reading names, mate.
Yeah, look, I'm a man of many languages and many skills.
Very good, very good. All right, let's get into the preview for this Sunday, which is the Bunbury Three Waters Festival. So thankfully, Ian Gibbs was kind enough to send through the start list for us to peruse. And again, we'd like to thank Kat Watt. We'll organise another foreign correspondent meme later this week. All right, so we'll start with the marathon. And so that starts at 6:30. And we've got a couple of names here that we've picked out as potential people being in the pointy end of the marathon. So we'll start with the men's. So I might kick us off. So we've got Adam Lamb as a potential front runner. So he won Canning River half. What was that? Maybe a month ago or a couple of weeks ago in a time of 1 hour and 16 minutes. He's been doing 140K weeks of late, and we would anticipate that he would be someone that will either come first or second in the marathon race there. We've got another name there. Did you want to talk about this person?
We've got Carlos Aquino. So he ran sub 32 on the weekend, as we discussed, but apparently sub 32 10K equates to a 2:28 marathon. So look, Carlos won this race last year in a 2:32 something, pretty close in an attempt to qualify for Tokyo. Which unfortunately for Carlos is now the qualifier is 2:28. So it's a big jump, 4 minutes, but I think, the opportunity to come back, because all past winners get invited back, the opportunity to come back and win maybe a little bit of money has potentially enticed him to have another go. So I think if of all the names we've got here, we do have a couple more that we'll go through. But I think Carlos is going to be a tough one to beat. Now, we did get some info from Kat, as you said. Now, we've got Josh Kuhn here, a consistent ultra marathoner, and has podiumed at Margaret River Ultra before. Now, he's run a 3:19 in a 50K before. So what do you pull that down 8Ks? We're talking somewhere in the 240s, I suppose. So, yeah, definitely in the top 5 for sure in a race of this kind of caliber. And then Nathan Fawkes is, I think, a pretty consistent runner down there. Maybe he's from down that way, but I'm sure he's run it the last couple of years. That
he has run it the last couple. I think he is from Perth.
Okay, yeah. He's run it the last couple of years that I've run it, and I think last year he ran a 2:52.58, but does have a PB of 2:44.55. So it looks like he's got a niggle in his foot at the moment, but did do a 12K at marathon pace over the weekend. So it looks like the race is on. So I think, maybe you'd like to go through the next couple of names, Simon, and then maybe we can make a few predictions. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, John Pence in his over 100 marathons all over Perth is set to take part in Bunbury. Well, we're not too sure. I think he's been MIA over the last couple of days, so he might be battling a bit of a cold there. So we'll see if he sort of rocks up to the start line, but we'll probably see John hovering anywhere between 250 to 3 hours, depending on the day. He did come second in Canning River Marathon, I think coming second to Reece Shaw from memory. I think he ran a 3:01 in that event. So look, we'll see what kind of fitness and health John rocks up to the start line, but he's probably in the top 5 potentially there. We've got Leo Bayers. So his PB is 2 hours 41. And having a quick stalk on his Strava, it doesn't seem like he's been training consistently of late. He could be on private, but he did come agonizingly close to sub 3 hours at Busso Bay Run earlier this year. So he ran a time of 3 hours and 16 seconds. So look, we'll see how Leo pulls up this Sunday. We've got I'm going to say friend of the show, although I haven't seen Craig for quite some time. But so Craig Berg, he's a consistent sub 3 runner. I think the last time I saw him was at Bibra Lake Marathon. Back in July last year, somewhere around there. So yeah, he looks like he's in good shape based on what we've seen on Strava. So potentially dipping under sub 3 hours there, and yeah, I think that sort of means that he'll be in the sort of top 6 or 7. We've got our very own Walter White of the Bunbury Training Series, David Perich. We'll find out if he's going to run sub 3. I know we didn't make any predictions during the episode record that we released yesterday, but what are you thinking are his chances?
I think Dave's got a very good chance of running sub 3. I think, yeah, I think if he gets within 7 or 6 or 7 Ks, I think he'll get there. It's just whether or not if he gets to 32 Ks and things do get tough, it's going to take a lot of mindset to be able to really. Because it's a long way from home, right? 10 Ks. Yeah. I mean, you've been through that point where you start to cramp. Especially in that course where you've got to kind of push yourself over the hill again. No, I'm confident that Dave will get there. I think there's enough people around him, both men and women, who are going to be running around the same time. So I think they can tag onto each other and help each other out. And someone like Craig's a pretty experienced runner. Having run that sub 3 a lot of times, and he's now, I don't know how old Craig is, but he's still doing that well and truly into his 40s. So I'm confident Dave will get there. He's been working really hard. He's been running consistently. He hasn't really had any downtime. He has been a little bit ill. I think the last couple of days he said he's got a bit of a cold, but I mean, if it's just a head cold, it's all part of the journey when you're tapering, I think,
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, we've got Jackson Lemon on the list there on our run sheet, another athlete of the Bunbury Training Series. So will he sub 3 hours 30?
Definitely. I think Jackson's
he's a bit of a sandbagger.
Massive sandbagger.
Yeah.
Now, look, I don't want to put pressure on Jackson because he didn't have the result that he wanted from his run in Perth Running Festival last year. But from what I've seen him doing on Strava and chatting to him on the podcast every 3 or 4 weeks, he's in good shape, and I would expect, having trained through a pretty tough summer, that he'll be ready to go on race day this Sunday.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so what's your prediction for the marathon? Like maybe a top 3 on that list.
Top 3, I'm going to go Carlos for number 1. I'm going to say Adam in second. And look, depending, I don't know anything about this Josh Kuhn, so it's hard for me to make a call. A 3:19 50K is pretty quick. And Nathan Fawkes is constantly up there in the top. I don't think John's in top 3 material this year, unfortunately. Leo Bayers is a bit of a, because is Leo a double athlete? Am I mistaken? Or
no, I don't think so.
Okay. No. All right. Well, I'm going to say we go Carlos, Adam, and Nathan coming in third.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. The same. Yeah. I reckon Carlos. Well, actually, this is the Warp Easy double bet. So I don't know if you saw the screenshot that I sent through in terms of my chat with Dean. So the bet is if we can predict Carlos's time and they predict Adam's time, whoever gets closest wins the bet, right? So we're saying that potentially Carlos has the potential to run at a 2 hour 28.
He won't run at 2:28 this weekend. No.
I reckon he'll run under 2:32.
Jesus, you think he's going to go that quick?
Yeah. I reckon he's going to do better than last year. I reckon he'll do 2:31:45.
Okay. Is it so? Our time. So now
So
the
we have to
curious.
come up with a combined time. Like we have to go with a time that we both agree with. So do
Oh,
you
okay.
agree with that, or do you want to adjust that slightly?
No, I think Carlos is going to try and jog it in.
You reckon he's going to jog it in? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. All right,
Now, yeah,
adjust the time accordingly then.
yeah. So, do we make the call on this podcast, or can we just um, contact Ryan independently?
All right, let's sit on it. Let's sit on it.
Yeah,
How
I
about we?
think so.
I reckon we submit our time tomorrow, and they submit
Mm,
their time tomorrow, roughly at the
yeah,
same time.
yeah. Okay, and that way, no one's got anything given away.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I have a feeling that Carlos is going to jog it in.
You reckon he's going to jog it in? All right. Well, I mean, you are seeing him tomorrow morning, right?
Yep. And I have been running with him the last few Fridays, so I think.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know
Okay.
what a jog for Carlos is because often he will say, "Oh, let's go and run easy pace," but his easy pace is sometimes 4:20s, 4:30s. So
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the race plans are tomorrow then, and then we'll submit our times accordingly. All
sounds
right.
good.
Okay. So that's the men's marathon. Let's go into the women's. So I'll start things off. We've got a clear favourite, I would say, in Sarah
Mm.
Greenwood.
Hmm.
So having a look at her training over the last couple of months, she's been training the house down, consistent 100k weeks from the 17th of Feb, which I think would have been after the Busso Bay run, all the way through to Sunday. So looking at some of her marathon specific sessions, it seems like her marathon pace efforts are hovering in the 4:05. So looks to be at the pointy end there in the marathon full stop, not just in the women's race. So I think she's probably the clear favourite there. We've got Jackie Kellerman, who's I think was a last minute sign up because we didn't see her originally in the
Hmm.
earlier start list we received a month ago. Now we're not too sure what kind of form she's in, but we know that in terms of Perth running festivals gone by, she's run really well in the state marathon champs. So I'd say she could potentially run very well still,
Mm.
even if she hasn't trained properly for the event. How about some of the other names there on the list?
So we've got Cara Loran. She ran 3:15 last year and took out the race, and I think she may have run it the year before in podium. So, look, she looks like she's training well. She's been doing some good marathon sessions up around Lake Joondalup. So she will be a contender for sure. We've got Anna Mance, another Bunbury local, who came third last year in 3:32. But I think this year's top three are going to be kind of in that either sub 3 or quicker. So I think, look, we've got Ash Ritson, our very own athlete, and another Bunbury local. Our early pick from the list we had was Ash, but I think knowing Sarah's going down, Sarah has run, I think, a sub 250 before, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, is obviously a very, very strong athlete. And yeah, I'm going to say that Sarah wins on the proviso that she can hold the pace. If she can hold 4:05s for 42 kilometres, then she'll win. But I think if Rideau sees any weakness in Sarah from 32k onward, then and Rideau doesn't blow herself up by running 4-minute Ks for the first 20Ks, then I think Rideau is an outside chance to take the win on this race.
Interesting. That's a big call. I mean, she did say in episode 3 that she doesn't plan on wearing, or well, she's not too bothered about wearing a watch, which is very dangerous. It means it's high risk, high reward potentially.
Exactly. And sometimes you can run outside of your skin, if you're not focused on a particular time, or if you're just focused on getting to the finish and getting there in one piece and actually getting there feeling strong. So I think if Rideau does contain herself a little bit, there's a chance she could take it out if she's kind of hovering around that 255 mark, and then potentially Sarah's falling out from a 250 and then back toward a 255. It could be a close finish. That's all I'm saying.
Interesting. That is a big call.
Yeah.
Very big call.
And then coming in third, I don't know about anything about Jackie's training, unfortunately, but I have known that she's been at the top end of a few races in the last few years. But I think Cara, being a consistent performer down in that race in the last few years, I think she will be somewhere, maybe not sub 3, but maybe we're talking close.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right. So let's move on to the half marathon. So we'll start with the women's. We've got our very own athlete in Hannah Paget following her journey over the last couple of months as she prepares for the half marathon event. Looked like she had a potential ankle scare that has resolved itself potentially, and she did have a workout sesh over the weekend. Now, we probably still think that she's going to take out the half. Well, I think so anyway. I mean, when she casually said that, even if she isn't feeling that great, she could still run a sub 125, I think that was a low-key brag from Hannah there. So
bit of a flex. Yep.
Yeah, just a very slight flex there in the episode record. So look, I think we can both agree that Hannah Paget most likely will take the win. How about some of the other names that you see there in the women's?
Yeah, we've got Kate Pritchett, who seems to be better in the half than necessarily in the 10K. She's run a few 10Ks we've seen recently, but has a PB of 123.17 in the half back in 2023 at the Busso. So, I mean, that's quicker than you or I are running in a half at the moment. So,
yeah, definitely.
It's certainly very, very on the quick end. And then we've got Shelley Smith, friends of Ashley Ritson and Hannah Paget, and the chief meme officer of the Bunbury Runners Club. The question is, will she go 2 scoops before her race? Absolutely. It would be rude not to. She ran a 127 at Busso Bay Run earlier this year and looking to go better. So having looked like a strong start in that race and potentially slowing toward the back end. It was a warmer day, so hoping that the conditions this time might be closer to 125. So, I mean, that's a pretty good 3 that we've got picked there. The question is, who is going to take the win? You're saying Hannah. I agree with you, but I think there's going to be an absolute shit fight to take out the second and third places there.
Well, I mean, I was messaging Shelley this afternoon to ask the question if she was going to go 2 scoops, and she replies, "I'm actually more of a tub girl myself, so." So
that's my kind of girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, depending on how much ice cream she consumes the night before, I reckon she'll perform very well. Look, Feb is always a warm kind of year, and I think people were complaining about the humidity at Busso Bay Run earlier this year. So I think she started at 4-minute Ks and then sort of faded towards later in the race. So if she is going to go out at 4-minute Ks, it looks like she'll be in the pointy end there. That's for sure. So you're thinking Shelley potentially, or you're thinking it will be a close one between Kate?
Yeah, I think Kate and Shelley will be. Yeah, it'll the race, the women's Olympic marathon, which Sifan Hassan won. It's going to be that kind of finish. I reckon.
A bit of elbow pushing that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, down that lighthouse hill. Onto the grass.
Interesting.
It's going to be a real tight finish, and it'll be great to watch it. Hopefully I've finished before that. If I haven't, I'll be maybe I'll be in that group trying to beat them. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see how we go. All right. So in the men's race, this has been in our whispers for quite some time, but we've got Dean Menzies on the start list there. Now, so he won Bridges over the weekend in a time of 30 minutes and 3 seconds. What do you reckon he will pull this weekend in the half marathon?
Well, I think we briefly touched on this last week, and I think you said that maybe he would run this at. I can't remember if you said that he would run this at a race or if he would run this at a half marathon effort. But I suspect that Dean's not going to run this. He's not going to He's not going to lose. Put it that way. He's not. Because he's got his friend Ryan Greenwood there. They've been training together, obviously have the podcast together, and has been recovering from a bit of a niggle, but Ryan's a very accomplished runner. So I don't think, for the sake of Dean's, even though Dean's a pretty humble guy, I think he doesn't want to lose, so I'd say that he's not going to jog it in, but he's at the same time, it's probably not going to be Dean's PB race potentially.
So potentially Dean first. We've got Ryan Greenwood there on the list. So Dean taking out first place, Ryan coming second. Now we've got a couple of names here, familiar names. So the next one is Matt Smirelli, training partner.
Yep.
Yet to be guest host of the WA Running podcast because we're still thinking about it. So he's done some consistent 100k weeks. He barely breathes when he does Tina's workouts with me on a Thursday. He ran 81 minutes in last year's Perth half. I think he's definitely fitter than that.
100%.
He did run 2 hours 53 at Perth Running Festival in October. What do you reckon is Smirelli's chances?
He will be. Let's just read out the other names first, and I'll tell you what's
what you think. Well, the next name is Chris Shaw. So Chris Shaw, I've got here. Will he bicarb and risk shitting his pants? And I know at the start of the episode you were talking about maybe you're not too confident at a 120, maybe a 121, 122. And then we've got Shaf Bari, who recently ran 1 hour 21 at Canning River Half, and that's no mean feat there. The boy does cook, and he helped me run sub 18 over the weekend there, so the boy is fit. And then finally we've got Dean Lane. So unfortunately his Strava is private, so we can't stalk him too much, but he also has a PB in the 1 hour 21 region as well. So a couple of guys, similar PBs or aiming to hit similar times. Well, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. Smirelli's going to run 118 low, I'm going to say. So, yeah, he is very fit at the moment. And as you said, barely breathes when he's running 3:35s. So, yeah, I feel like he's going to run very quickly. He'll be third. It's going to be a battle of the rest, I reckon. Here, look, I'm not going out at Shaf's pace at the start. I'm going to guarantee that. Like, if he drops a 3:30 or 3:35 in his first K, I'm not going to follow him. But at the same time, I'm keen to try and hit that 80 minutes. It's been a goal for a long time. I'm not going to back down from it. I'm going to try and hit it. And just see what happens. So my goal is to go out at 3:48s and stick with it. And I think Dean, don't know much about Dean, but if he's around that fitness at the moment, it'll be good to have a bit of a pack for sure. So if there's potentially 4 of us running around 120 or below, then it'll be good to see how that race unfolds. I think, as I said, Smirelli's got it in the bag for third, though. I think, he's going to walk away with $100 on Sunday.
Interesting. Well, interesting.
What do you think, mate? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he's probably that thereabouts, 118, 119, I think. It'd be interesting because there wouldn't be anyone around him, so he'll be running solo for the most part. So whether or not he'll be able to hold that pace for that long, I think he'll probably lose some concentration, and that might just cost him some time. But definitely, fitness is there. So I think we're going to expect a strong result from Smirelli, and maybe we'll put it out there if he does podium on the weekend, he finds himself a guest host spot.
Potentially, or maybe we have to get him a singlet for the Stride King Run Club.
Possibly. One of the two. All right. Sounds good. All right. And then finally, we've got the 10K, and we've got 2 names there. We've got, I guess, our golden boy, the Wizard of Bunbury, Zacchaeus Gildersleeve there. Looks like his 10K PB is in that sort of 35-minute or thereabouts range. And then we've got the Flying Scotsman, who seems to always slide into your DMs all the time. And it looks like his PB is somewhere around the 35-minute mark as well. So I think it's a tussle between the 2 names. Who's your pick?
You have to go with the Wizard, don't you? I mean...
Yeah. Home ground.
Yeah, home ground advantage. By all accounts, been training and like an absolute monster, according to our friend Brendan, who now lives down there. So... it's got to be the homegrown for sure.
Sounds good. And then I think at the women's race, it's anyone's race there. There weren't any names that we were able to see from the list there. So I think the women's race is all for grabs. But yeah, that's the Bunbury Runners Running Festival. I think we've got some special shout outs on the list there. We've got a couple of Bunbury locals in Kerry and Beckett doing their first marathon with her sister Lisa Cox from Scotland, also running her first marathon. So we'll be sure to cheer them on when they realise that they're regretting their decision to run a marathon at about the 30K mark at the Lighthouse. I did find a name that I find familiar, which is a person by the name of Colin Ducker. And I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you, Chris, but Colin Ducker is actually part of my running origin story. So he's lying about his age in terms of his reg. I think he's definitely in his 80s. But 9 years ago, he had quadruple bypass surgery. And he was told at the time that he had 9 more years to live with that sort of surgery. Anyway, we're 9 years later. He's still going strong and he's still doing half marathons. So he did Canning River half, a month ago. And he's starting at Bunbury this weekend in the half marathon. So stubborn old man is still running. And good on Colin for still pushing through there. So best of luck to you, Colin. We'll see you at the start line. We've got Jimmy Runs, YouTube Dad, as we affectionately refer him to in our WhatsApp group. I don't think I've seen his latest video, but hopefully he makes it to the start line. He's been doing a lot of deep water running there, staring at a wall for 3 hours. So the mindset's there. Let's hope that the body holds up for Sunday. And then finally, we've got Bethane Wynn. So I know Bethane through work and she's been training well. She's been doing all of her long runs through Bald Park as part of a 30K run. So strong legs there. And she was telling me, I think a week ago, that her last marathon was a 4-hour 30 back in 2010 at the Brighton Marathon. So looking at, stalking at her Strava activities, I reckon she's got 4 hours to 4 hours 15 potentially on Sunday. So best of luck, Bethane, there. And that's the Bunbury Running Festival preview. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait, mate. It's going to be a great weekend. And just excited that there's so many people now that we kind of seem to be getting in touch with a few more people through this podcast. It seems like there's going to be a bit of a party down there at the finish line. So looking forward to meeting everyone at the Bunbury Runners Club and a few of the listeners down there who are competing. So if you see us, come and say hello for sure.
Yep, sounds good. All right, let's move on to our interview this week.
Yeah, so look, this was take 2 after a few technical issues last week. Unfortunately, Jack couldn't join us on our previous episode in which we previewed the Bridges Fun Run, but you had an opportunity to chat with Jack on Friday, to talk about his cross-country representations and also his opportunities he's had through music. So here is Simon's chat with Jack.
All right, so take 2. My guest it's not across the screen, it's across the table, is someone with many talents, I would say. So he's a part-time musician, he's a part-time runner. We were just chatting off the air about juggling our daytime jobs, so the guy does it all. Welcome to the WA Running Podcast, Jack Sirett. How are you, mate?
Oh, I'm great, thanks. It's an honour to be here. Been waiting for this moment all my life. Good. So in a full circle moment, last year you called out the WA Running Podcast. And it wasn't when it was Chris and I myself, it was Matt, Dan and Sinead. But for not quite making it to the podium at HBF, finishing 4th in a time of 1 hour 13, well, mate, you've made it. You didn't have to podium at HBF to make it onto the podcast. So how does that feel? Well, I mean, as you would know, with primary school carnivals, they usually give out a 4th place ribbon. So, I was hoping that there might be a slight chance I'd be able to get one of those, at least in a shout out. So I know there's different co-hosts now. So, the game's changed a bit, but it's all tongue in cheek. And I was happy to get a shout out. I've been following the podcast since 001. So
very good.
It's been great to see the journey, and it's great to be on here after being probably the number 3 ticket holder after Paul Beckers and another person.
No one cares about James Heggie. It's fine.
Sorry, James. We love you, mate.
All right. Well, let's start from day dot. So tell us about your origin story and your background into running. How did that come about?
Yeah, sure. So
Well, I went to a primary school and we didn't actually have athletics and sport carnivals. And so I never really grew up with it. And then year 5, I moved to a different primary school. And then all of a sudden you have that compulsory swimming carnival, the aths, the cross country. I had no idea what I was doing. So I remember I rocked up to the cross country in my trackies and my mum was there to support me. And I walked a little bit and then I ran a bit. And then eventually I came 28th out of 52, which wasn't great. And then I felt a little bit embarrassed by that because I realized, oh gosh, I've got to do this all again next year. So from then on, I just got into it a little bit. My dad ran a little bit. He used to run from work to home. So I followed him on some holidays that we went on. And from there, I just really liked the feeling of running and the freedom of it too, and just discovering new places. So from there, I went to the next year's cross country at school and I came 4th. I made the inter-school team, and then from there, I think the drive was just to keep making those teams, get better, and just follow the opportunities.
Oh, excellent. So yeah, I'm seeing something on Strava around a potential Hale boys and is it Corpus Christi battle?
Christchurch Grammar.
Oh, Christchurch Grammar. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say that there's potentially a rivalry in high school. So how did that develop, in terms of your progression or your running in high school?
Yeah, sure. So I moved to Hale on a music scholarship in year 10, and it's a PSA school. I was really lucky to go there. There was some really great opportunities, both sport and music. And one of the things we have to do is choose a sport in summer and winter. So it came to winter, I picked cross country. It's not a super popular sport because all the lads want to play footy and rugby and even badminton. So we rocked up, we had a very small team and we used to get decimated every week basically due to our lack of numbers. But one of the teams we used to race against was Christchurch Grammar, which is a fellow Anglican school. They weren't particularly strong at the time, but 10 years later they've become a bit of a powerhouse. I think they've won the cross-country trophy 5 years in a row, and they've got illustrious alumni such as Lucas Coe, Jack Crago, Nick Thompson. So I mean, I just saw the lineup the other day for Bridges and noticed that there was a lot of Christchurch boys competing, and despite us beating them 10 years ago, they've had the neck over us recently. So thought I would just stir up a bit of healthy competition.
Beautiful. So by the time this episode comes out, this will be post Bridges. So perhaps some predictions, and we'll see how right or wrong you are. So what are your chances heading into Bridges?
We put a bit of a Strava poll down just to get people's thoughts and feelings. So we're grateful that Raf Borg has gone for Team Hale. So thanks for your support, Raf. So our team involves Tom Renshaw, who not many people know in WA, but he's a former WA runner. He's since moved to the UK and he's become a gun runner, runs a 13-odd 5K. And he's going to be racing on Sunday, just on a cheeky vacation run. Nice. We've also got Max Davidson, who was my fellow competitor in high school. We're in the same year, but he's been training down the house, and I wouldn't be surprised if he beats me. So it's a good top 3, but it just in typical Hale fashion, we lack depth, whereas Christchurch has got power and numbers. So I think Nick Thompson will probably be the winner of all of us. And then there's also Lucas and Jack Crago. Wouldn't be surprised if they make a top 10. There's also Tom Shenton, who is a fellow year group person, and he's also been training down the house. So I'm sure he'll be surprising a few people.
So you're hoping for a Hale win potentially?
Of course,
all goes to plan.
Of course, yeah. I mean, you got to support the alumni. I'd probably say in the sports bet odds, I'd say Hale's probably a bit of an outside chance. But hopefully the underdog tag can pull us through.
Beautiful. We'll find out once people start listening to this episode how right or wrong you are. All right, so let's go to perhaps your Strava feed. So most, if not all, of your runs on Strava are titled with a song or an artist title. So it seems to be an eclectic mix that you're posting on your runs there. Everything from post rock to jazz, and most recently, I think Chris and I saw a bit of Irish hip hop in the mix. So how do you see these two forms go hand in hand in terms of your expression of creativity as well?
I think first with the Irish mix, we're just trying to keep some of the Irish guys happy here in Perth. So, shout out to Owen Smith, Fontaine's DC. We've got Kneecap, we've got New Dad, some great bands coming out of Ireland. So shout out to them. I think just going into that, I find people's run titles on Strava are just so mundane and monotonous. And, morning run, evening run, shakeout before a run. It's like, yeah, cool, good on you. But I mean, despite having 100 followers on my Strava account, it's not a massive following, but I just want to use my platform, albeit a small one, to just, shout out some artists I enjoy. And they may not be popular or well known, so just giving them some exposure. Sort of going into that as well, I mean, one of my things is, I love running and I love music. So I'm just trying to put them together, and it's sort of become a bit of an identity as of late, and it's cottoned on a little bit. I've seen Carlos Kino been putting on a few song titles as of late, and he's showing his own identity with the music he likes. So yeah, I think it's just a bit of a free-for-all, and if you like the artist, go check him out, or if you don't know who they are, have a listen and see if you agree with me or not.
Beautiful, excellent. So you're a past member of the WA Youth Jazz Orchestra and the Youth Orchestra as well. So you talked about your running journey there, but what came first? Was it music or was it the running?
Yeah, that one's a really tough one. It's difficult. I mean, without coming out with the most diplomatic answer, I think they're both important in their own way, and they've become to a point where they've intertwined and they complement each other. So for me, I mean, I remember when I was 18 and I was doing even triathlon at the time, and was doing a little bit of music on the side. I was training 14 times a week. It was something ridiculous. And then all of a sudden I got asked to play a gig, my first paid gig. And I was like, oh, money, like sign me up. So $100. And so like, I think I sort of followed the music trajectory a little bit more. But running's also been important for me. I think mainly in regards to mental health and being in that positive headspace. And as you would know, and all of our podcast followers, the run is high. It's just a feeling that can't be replicated in any other form. So yeah.
Excellent. So you're now actively playing in a bunch of bands, and from what we understand, including the likes of Tawana Cartel, Fearless State, I think you toured with Fluent at some stage in the last year or two. In addition, and we were just talking before the record about, balancing the day job to the day office job as well in between the mix with running. So how do you yourself balance all of that?
It's a tough one. I mean, I feel like I'm a clown and I'm juggling all these balls. So it can be really difficult at times, and you've got to make sure you don't burn out as well, which is something I think I've been learning over the past few years. I find just having a mix of things to look forward to is really helpful. I find, particularly if you're going through a bit of a rut and you're running, whether you're injured or you're just not hitting those PBs, it's just something else to look forward to, and vice versa with music. So I'm a trumpet player, so if my lips haven't been working great, or I'm a bit jet lagged and my ability is just not there, I've got the running to look forward to. So, for me, when I go on tour, I'm always looking forward to going for a run and leaving the hotel and, just exploring new places. And I think that's always been one of the appeals to running for me, is being out in the open and just, seeing life.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you, with the touring and the commitments that you would have in music, are you forced to have to plan in advance? So for example, 2025, do you have that down pat in terms of your commitments to music? So therefore I can't do this race, so therefore I need to plan my races all around that as well.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty grateful. So I've got my coach is Ben Green from Front Runner, and we have these conversations quite often. My schedule has to be quite fluid because unfortunately the music industry and arts is quite fluid. Whether that's funding or just ability to get from point A to point B, or even, like festivals. So, like a lot of, like I'm a massive planner myself. I like to plan things ahead. I've got calendars and itineraries and whatnot, but, like a lot of things do pop up last minute and you've got to sort of change your plans here or there. So, there is some exciting things coming up with music, which I'm really looking forward to, but some things haven't been fully committed yet because you might be waiting on funding grants or transport options, things like that. So it has to be a fluid approach for me.
Yeah, definitely. And we were talking off the record around the flexibility of your current day job as well, being helpful for that as well. So that I'm going to guess that sort of gives you that balance between the different forms of work and running and your creative passion in music as well, right?
Yeah, I've got to give a shout out to my managers at work at the Department of Planning. So hi guys. What's really great is they're quite understanding of obviously a lot of the co-curricular activities going on, whether that's traveling for a race, representing WA at nationals over east, or going on a national tour with Fluent. So we do have some generous leave arrangements, and they're they're quite flexible when it comes to that, but obviously still got to get the work done. So it can be a challenge at times, but I think just having things to look forward to and things to plan ahead, it keeps you motivated and drives. So
yeah, excellent. So so we've noticed that you seem to be traveling around the world pretty frequently. So is this I suppose it's probably not a work thing, but is it a family? Is it the love of travel? Is it just for the experience? And we've also noticed you race overseas as well. So yeah, so what is it? And in terms of your racing, from an overseas point of view, like, well, what have been your highlights in terms of your races overseas?
Yeah, I find it really funny. I think there's been a few podcasts where I've competed at Montreal half marathon, and we've had the previous podcasters say, "Oh, he must have this Canadian heritage or this Canadian connection," and it's become a bit of a laugh between me and a couple of my mates. But no, inevitably, like, I find that's one of the drivers for me with running is being able to move around and see different places, and it keeps the flame going. So for me, I think 2023 was the first time I did a race outside of WA that wasn't like a nationals related race. So I always wanted to go to Montreal. There's just something about the culture and the art, and it being a music city, and it just really appealed to me. So I saw that there was a half marathon in September. One of my best friends from high school has relocated to Canada, so thought this is a good excuse to go see him, while also do something that I enjoy. So and then did really well in that year, and they gave me free entry for the next year. So beautiful. I mean, I do understand, like, I'm quite privileged that I have the financial means to be able to travel over there and do the thing that I love. But I mean, yeah, like saving yourself $200 on a half marathon, that's obviously a bit of a perk. So I went back and did it the next year, but I also just love Montreal, and I've made a couple of friends in that part of the world. So it's great to see them and, hopefully boost those connections. So,
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So you did it in 2023. What was the training like leading up to doing it for the first time, and the first overseas race?
I think everyone's got their own goals, whether that's training for their first marathon or not. I think I just know my body too well, and I'm like, marathons, it's just a bit too far. I'm too tall, I'm too big, I'm overweight. So the half marathon seemed a bit more of a realistic expectation. So I signed up for HBF, and that was my first half marathon in 2023. Didn't really know what I was doing. Obviously went pretty hard in the first half of the race and then died out. I was running in, I think, Asics Nimbuses, so not particularly quick shoes, but it was good experience. It was just a training to get into marathon, into that, half marathon level. So then went over to Montreal. So HBF was May, Montreal was September. So I had a couple of months to prepare, and then during that period, unexpectedly got into the WA team for cross country. So went to Canberra. So I did a cheeky detour, and I used to do those races when I was in high school and sort of early uni level, but then obviously life takes its course. So I'd had about maybe a 7 or 8 year break. So that was a motivator. I was like, I'd love to represent WA, and I was fortunate enough to be selected. So and then, obviously was training for a couple of races simultaneously, which isn't great, but I didn't have a coach at the time. So YOLO, just do what I feel like. But then, obviously doing well at the Montreal race and, getting a PB was inspiration to go back again. So do HBF again in 2024. And then obviously went back to Montreal again. So
you're with Greenie now, but so you didn't have a coach in 2023, kind of winged it there. So 2024, did you get a coach then, or was it still very much a YOLO kind of?
Half the year was YOLO. I have had coaches in the past. So when I first got into running, I actually signed up for Little Athletics at 16, which is super late for Little Athletics, and unfortunately, most of the big dogs they usually transition out at that age. So. Because I discovered that sort of a few weeks in, I started doing the track races a bit more often. My dad was not happy because there's a lot of volunteering involved. So at that time, I started joining a middle distance squad. So I was training with Lenny Hughes, and then a few years later, I made the move over to Tony Chamberlain, who's Ben Chamberlain's dad. So I had a bit of an idea of how to plan sessions and how to do those, because I'd obviously been in those systems before. But I think with the coach, it's just being accountable and sort of having a bit more ideas on the sports science nature and how your body is responding to things because previously I just, I feel good, I'm going to go running, or I don't really feel like running today, so I'm not going to go. But having a bit more structure, I think, it was helpful. So I started getting involved in that a bit last year, and that was partly to manage some injuries as well, and sort of look at cross-training ideas and knowledge sharing.
Yeah, and how has the experience with Greenie been since?
Yeah, he's good. Greenie's quite flexible and he's quite understanding, particularly of my schedules. So he obviously has a lot of clients. He's got some, Ripper juniors, and he's also got some Ripper middle distance runners like Tom Moorcroft and Tom Cross. So I catch up with him monthly and we discuss race plans and race goals. And unfortunately, a few of them have fallen through just because of injury or work or those kind of things. But he's always been very supportive and he's a good coach. So can't say anything bad about Greenie.
No. All right. So you've got bridges installed this week. What are your expectations for the race? So, you're repping Hale, but, what's training been like leading into bridges this Sunday?
Yeah, my mates would hate this, but Max and I have been discussing, do we go back to the uniform shop and buy a singlet and just, fully commit? And we considered that when we did the Parloof Relay last year, and then we thought, it's a bit too cringy. But no, it's like, unfortunately, I've had a bit of an injury-riddled year so far. So there's been a few races that I'd targeted and wasn't able to do those in the end, unfortunately, just due to health. So even this Bridges run, it's been a little bit niggly. So it's been hard to get a bit of consistency with the training on top of, obviously, I think in March, I was on tour for a lot of that time with Tijuana Cartel, going to Tassie, and then down south at Nannup Festival, WA tour. So it's been hard to put that together. So I mean, inevitably, one of the motivators for me with running is I just love the feeling of it. So low expectations, no pressure. I mean, obviously, it would be nice to beat the Christchurch boys. But I mean, if I can run close to my PB, or keep up with some guys that are decent runners, I think I'll just be happy with that.
Excellent. All right. And what are you targeting for the rest of 2025? So, I mean, early this year, despite the injury niggles, you did win the Marathon Club Twilight Peninsula in the 5K.
Defending the
title. And then you backed it up a weekend later. And I think it was me that didn't back you, but you took out the Busso 10K the weekend after that. So that pretty good result there. But what are your plans for the rest of 2025? So you've got Bridges this weekend, and all going to plan. What else you've got in store for 2025?
That Busso one was real tough. So time was a bit disappointing, but it was super humid, and there was a few quick runners nonetheless. Kalen Bennett was really close. I'm sure he'll probably beat me next year if I go down. He's really emerging. So I've signed up for Bristol Half Marathon, which is next month. So I'm turning 30 next month, and I thought, one way to celebrate would be to do a half marathon on my birthday. So it's actually on my birthday.
Oh, beautiful. Nice.
So I went to Bristol last year and loved it, and saw there was a half marathon. So I was like, yep, let's do that. Although belatedly found out that there's a half marathon in Copenhagen on the same day. And I was like,
could have done that.
Could have done the Ingebrigtsen run and, tried to run a 10K PB in my first, half of the half marathon. So that's the big next goal. So we'll have to try and ramp up the training a little bit, try and get a few more Ks in the legs. From there, it's a bit fluid. I was interested in maybe doing a couple of the cross-country races that WA has, see how we go with that. We were meant to have cross-country nationals in Perth this year, which would be the first time in 10 years. But then Victorian government did a dirty deal, and the nationals are going to be in Ballarat for the next 3 years. So Ballarat in August is not particularly appealing, noted for its cold temps and being inland, I guess. So, I mean, we'll see how we go with that, if that ends up eventuating. But it's obviously quite dependent on work and, where we end up with music. So swings and roundabouts, we'll see how we go.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so we understand you've got a big show coming up this weekend. So by the time this episode comes out, so on Saturday the 12th of April at Christchurch in Claremont. So it's a bit of a celebration of your 30th birthday this year, along with, paying homage to some great American jazz artists of the 20th century. So tell us about the upcoming gig and how it's all coming together?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's probably quite ironic that a Hale boy is doing a performance at Christchurch, given all the things we've just been talking about. But this one, it's been a long time coming. I had an epiphany basically this time last year. I was like, oh God, I'm 30 next year. That's scary. I need to really get ahead with my life and start planning things. So I've got a friend in Melbourne, Chris Nankervis. He's a professional piano player, and we've always been discussing, we need to do a concert together at some point. We've been best mates for about 10 years now. The idea, I'm more of a jazz musician these days, and Chris is a classical composer and pianist. So we thought, maybe we should combine our styles together and put this concert in. So we brainstormed, and we've decided to come up with this concert. It's American themed, and that kind of links a little bit to some of the running stuff that I've done in the past. Obviously, going over to North America and doing some races, and another thing that has been involved was when I was 16, I had the privilege of going to the US on a jazz tour with my school, and we got to check out all these nightclubs in New York and perform with some of America's top schools in jazz. And it was quite humbling, the Perth schools. It's a bit of a gap, but it was just really inspiring. And I thought, if I could do half the things these guys do, then I'd be pretty fulfilled and be very, really happy. So that's really driven a lot of my music, and just that American connection. So the concert's all American themed. We've got classical music in the first half and jazz in the second half, and a bit of an intersection, because that's really where the genres started mixing, was in the US. We're also involving a couple of my students. I do music teaching. It's one of my side hobbies. So getting a couple of my illustrious alumni to come up and perform a song at the end. And just a community event, just trying to get people involved, giving back a little bit.
Oh, excellent. How did the listeners sign up and get tickets for the event?
Yeah, well, so there's a Try Booking link website. So this is on April the 12th, so next Saturday. You can find tickets on Try Booking. There's a Facebook event floating around for those people who still use Facebook. There's also the links on a Perth Now article that recently got published. So you just book tickets on there. The concert's going to be catered. So if you don't like the music, then hopefully you'll like the food. There's a backup option. There's been a lot of work going into it. I'm really lucky. There's a few family members and friends that are traveling from the East Coast to come. So it's just a celebration, really, a big shindig before heading over to Europe and going to Bristol, running a half marathon.
Beautiful, excellent. Well, we'll put a link into the show notes when we release this episode. So for those that are interested in attending. So how about we wrap up with a running related question? So I've got your PBs here. So we've got 5K, your PB is 15:13. Do you remember where you did that?
Yep, Bibra Lake Park Run, July last year.
Oh, so in peak form there, very good.
I was peak form. Unfortunately, I'm not at those lofty heights at the moment, but aspiring to get back there.
And then 10K, you ran 32:42. What was that?
Yep, that was WAMC. I think it was one of the 10K runs, Burswood or Maylands 10K.
Oh, okay, yep. And then your half marathon time is 1:13:17. Was that Montreal? Or?
That was HBF last year.
HBF last year.
Montreal was a 1:14, but close enough.
Yeah.
No
so are you hoping Bristol you crank that half marathon time down a bit, or?
Yeah, I think we'll see. I did have a look at the course profile. It's relatively flat. I think there's just one hill, I think, towards the beginning. So Bristol's a very hilly city for people who haven't been there, but it could be quite flat depending on how they do the course. It'd be nice. I mean, one of the things that impacts you when you travel is obviously just all the flying, and it can be quite time intensive. So probably depends in what form I'm at at that stage of the trip. So I've told my friends we need to lay off the beers, I think, before we do the run. So we'll try. But I mean, I've run some of my PBs ironically when I've been on 4 hours sleep and just finished a tour. So I think it just really depends how we're feeling on the day. Obviously, just try and do all the work as much as possible, appease Greenie. and hopefully get there.
And does Greenie want you to do a marathon eventually? I know you've said that it's not your interest right now, but is the marathon on the cards at some point? Because you are turning 30, and that's what happens when you turn 30. You're not as fast, and then you start to slow down. You start thinking about the longer stuff.
Yeah, I think that's one of the motivators for me with running, because I know that I won't be able to run forever, and obviously having a few niggles recently, it's like, well, don't know how many years I've got left to run PBs and 5K and 10K, so I don't want to write it off. But I think for me, running, I'm intrinsically motivated, not externally motivated. So if I'm going to run a marathon, I'm doing it for myself, and not to appease other people. Sorry, others. So we'll see how we go. Won't write it off, but it's looking unlikely at the moment. I think half marathons will probably be the next plan of attack.
Beautiful. Excellent. All right. Well, Jack, so it was a pleasure to chat to you, mate. Chat to you in person, actually. It was probably better that way. So maybe the universe was talking to us about it wasn't meant to be recording remotely. So pleasure to talk to you, mate. And thank you for joining us on the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me, and appreciate you standing by for someone who's particularly technology illiterate, despite being a late millennial, early Gen Z type. So
we made it work.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Massive interview there. A lot of information that I didn't know about Jack. It's a name that had kind of been popping up on this podcast for a long time before we took over as hosts, and a lot of speculation of his heritage based on all this travel that he'd been doing. But it sounds like music is kind of his great love, and running, is something that he does in order to kind of maintain that balance between both. And I think that he raised a point in that interview, which was that, it's important to have multiple interests or hobbies in which you can pour yourself into, because if one of them falls away, like you're running, potentially if you're injured for 6 months or something, you need to be able to have something else to dive into. So some really good insight there from Jack. And I guess an update, which we didn't cover on our Bridges results, was that Hale won that bet between Hale and Christchurch. And even though Jack said that they were an outside chance, it looked like they did it quite convincingly in the end. So that's wonderful to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jack was being a sandbagger himself. I think it was pretty quiet. He was quietly confident that Hale was going to get the win. But good to get the win there from the Hale old boys there. So congrats, Jack and the team. All right, let's get into upcoming events. So we've got the Delirious West that's coming up this week, and we've got the 200 miler solo in teams, 100 miler solo in teams. I think we've been talking about Coach Macca going for the potential 100 miler course record, which should be interesting to pay attention to in this next week. I've started to see posts of Big Kev up and about. So, classic Big Kev doing these crazy races. And I think Charles Bosseveld is possibly doing it as well from memory. So, crazy event there that looks to go on from Wednesday to Sunday, the 13th of April. That is
too many days.
Too many days in my book. Then we've got the Three Waters Bunbury Running Festival this Sunday that we talked about just then. And then looking ahead, we've got the Urban Coast Ultra Run, which is in my neck of the woods there in Tom Simpson Park in Mullaloo. So that's on Easter Monday, with distances ranging from the 27K, 64K solo, and then you can do the 64K in a relay of teams of 2 and 3. Then we've got the Anzac River Run, and I think this is in your neck of the woods there in Tompkins Park in Alfred Cove. That's Friday the 25th of April, with distances in the 4K and 8K. Then we've got the Lake Rumble Run on Sunday the 27th of April. I think we've got one of our mates potentially doing one of these races. So we've got distances in the 5K, 14K. And by the way, I am the 14K champion.
Oh, that's right. I did remember that. Yeah.
21K, 28K in the marathon. So a lot of distances there. You essentially just run up and down Neil Hawkins Park on one side of the lake. I'd say arguably is a boring run, but then I do all of my Sunday runs there. So I'll probably be there just doing a casual long run, but not the events. But 27th of April there for those interested. And then we've got the Freo Ports Harbour Master Classic on Sunday the 4th of May, with distances ranging between the Kids Dash 5K, which is 2 laps, and 10K, which is 4 laps. And I think from memory, Dean Menzies ran 31 minutes in that 4-lap course, which I found absolutely ridiculous at the time.
Mm.
And then also on Sunday, the 4th of May, we've got the Secret Rocky Runners Salt Lakes City Trail Race, which is down in Rockingham. And then we've got the Wings for Life World Race, but the Perth leg is on Sunday, the 4th of May in Burswood. And I think our mate Sota is doing that there. So good luck to him. All right, let's move on to our Warp admin, and we've got our community run this week.
Yeah, another community run. Would you believe it?
Yep.
The listeners were begging for community runs for 12 months, and now we've got them coming out of our ass. So, yeah, let's. This Friday, we're again partnering with the Running Centre and Bix, and we're going to have ASICs there this Friday. So come down to the Running Centre Friday, 11th of April from 5:30. We're going to be doing the 5K, 6K or 10K option, depending on what your appetite is. There will be a number of shoes to try on, which is exciting. We've got the new Nimbuses, the new Nova Blast, but also a few, what might get a few people excited is both the Metaspeed Edge and Metaspeed Sky Paris. Those will both be available to try on. So, unfortunately, I won't be there. So, yeah, there's a pair of size 12 Edges or Skies there for someone to try on in my place. Yeah, look, the question is, will the Running Centre do any discounts on the day? Look, we'll have to leave it up to Raf and the team at ASICS, see what they say. We'll certainly find out Friday. We're intending that this to be a bit of a sundowner, so stick around afterwards for a bit of a feed and a bit of a drink. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not sure who's going to be representing Bix there on Friday. We had Smithy the last couple, but we'll have to wait and see. It'll either be Rambo or Smithy, I think Vlad said.
Yeah, I think it might be Smithy. And Smithy, if you're listening to this, we did receive a complaint at the last community run because it was a 35-degree day. I think if you can bring some ice for the Bix drinks, that'd be much appreciated. And then, just before we started recording, I mean, we saw another run club collabing with the Running Centre, offering a free pair of ASICS shoes on their collab with the Running Centre. So no pressure, Sam and Raf, but I feel like we need a free pair of shoes at our community event.
I think, look, there's going to be so many people there, I expect. I think our last run with Brooks last week was big. I feel like this one's going to be bigger, given the race shoes are on the line there. So, yeah, look forward to seeing how many people we get out there. And the more people that come, the more often we can do it. It just entices it, encourages everyone to get involved. So by all means, come down, have a run, and carb up before your race on Sunday, potentially, if you're doing anything down at Bunbury this weekend.
Sounds good. All right, let's move on to Simon Says. So I've just got one this week. So I received a phone call this afternoon from someone who shall be nameless. Anyway, this person has made an offer because a couple of episodes ago I made the big claim that I could potentially do Herdies next year. Didn't sign up, but after a business proposal was made this afternoon, I think I just sent you a screenshot before we started recording. I am doing next year's Herdies. So it's part of a bigger project that's in stall. So I won't say too many details, but Tina, if you're listening, I think you're going to have to try and train me up to run a backyard ultra next year post Gold Coast. So Linda is a bit behind on the podcast app, so I don't think she's caught up to the Herdies previews and recaps just yet. So I think I've got another month until she catches up. So if you're listening, Linda, I am doing Herdies. Will you help crew for me, Matt?
I'll definitely be crewing. I can't guarantee that I will compete purely because I'm very prone to peer pressure. And if anyone's yelling at me one more lap or one more yard, who could tell when it would finish?
I mean, you shouldn't be saying that sort of shit because it means that you're easily persuaded.
I mean, I'm easily persuaded when I'm doing it. I think I'm definitely happy on this side of the fence right now. So
Okay, fair enough. No.
yeah.
All right. Well, all to be revealed. I think there's a couple of discussions on the way until the announcement's official. But I am part of the bigger project to be part of Herdies next year. So I'm excited now because it's still 300 days away. But we'll see how the nerves will go as we get closer.
Isn't it amazing that the entries open for this race maybe 2 weeks after the last one?
I don't think it was even 2 weeks. I think it was like literally a week after.
Yeah, I saw Kev post about him having retired from the backyard ultra scene, but then literally within 3 days had signed up for the next one.
year.
So look, it's obviously an addictive format. So having not done it before and having made some serious claims about what I'm capable of doing, I'm happy not doing it for the sake of, my own marriage.
Content.
To be frank. Yeah.
Yeah, podcast content's not worth it. We're not making any money out of this. All right, let's move on to our weapons of war.
Yeah, well, obviously for your sign up to Herdies, you're worthy of a mention this week. But we've got West Australian runner Ben Chamberlain. It was Ben Chamberlain Day on the weekend. Ben ran a 25-kilometre Sunday long run commute to work at 4:05s, which is maybe quicker than Dean runs to work on his commutes. So good to see that from you, Ben. Now we've got Lachlan Stewart here, was nominated by Eddie Still. Lachlan's on a quest to produce the most beautiful weekly Strava graph. Am I mistaken?
Yeah, that's correct.
And we've had a look. Apparently, Lachlan's looking to run an increment of 1 kilometre per week and just continue it until I don't know what. Maybe he gets to 100. Maybe he gets to 200. Maybe he breaks down with whatever. But he's been doing it successfully, and he's up to 97 kilometres. It looked like that potentially he had stuffed it up this week and not having made up the time on Sunday, but then went out for a cheeky 15k run on Sunday evening to polish off the 97 kilometres. So wishing Lachlan the best of luck, making it to 100 and looking to see where you take it from there. We've got Aaron Young doing a crazy 300 miler over in the US. As we are currently recording, I understand he's still running. So
he's only just got 100 miles to go.
Oh, just 100. Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Very good. No, good luck, Aaron. Some incredible running from you. It seems like an incredible ascension from Aaron, like having run a few backyards and things, and now suddenly becoming this long format specialist and one of the best to do it, which is great. And look, there's a couple of things that got raised a couple of weeks ago over Strava in relation to Herdies about the welfare of younger athletes. Now, look, if people are so concerned about the welfare of children in this sport that is an endurance sport, why aren't they getting upset about Dan Bowbridge using his baby to log activities on Strava?
Yeah, I know. I don't know how old Rory is nowadays, but that is too young to be logging Strava activities. So Dan Bowbridge,
cut it out, Dan.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I hear that you don't believe backyard ultras are a real sport as well. So I'm just going to put that one out for free as well. So I feel like maybe you need to sign up for 2026 Herdies. I think by then, child number 2 will be, 9 months potentially. So
old enough to log activities on Strava by Dan's ruling.
Should be doing Herdies next year, mate. Join the party next year. All right, I think that's it for us in terms of our weekly ep and our weapons of warp. So thank you for joining us in episode 073. Our socials is Instagram, where you can find us on @WARunningPod. Our email is warunningpodcast@gmail.com, and our Strava group is Warp. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll catch you next time.
Our socials is Instagram.
Yeah. All right, see ya.
Boy.
Yeah, on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.